In this video, we are going to learn how we can automate pretty much every transaction of repeated nature by using the recurring entries feature. So let's get started with this video. How you can deal with the recurring transactions in QuickBooks. So we will use the memorized transaction area. Now, as the name suggests, the recurring entry means that the same amount of entry should exist in every single month, just like rent or any other professional fees or any telephone charges. If the telephone charges are fixed, it shouldn't be variable, it should be fixed every month. So that kind of expenses can easily be automated and it will decrease your workload. So let's see an example of recurring entry. Now let's say that on 1st of January 2024, we have paid the rent in advance for complete 12 months and the rent was 1200,000. Now we all know that if you're paying for an expense in advance for a complete year, it will not be treated as an expense, rather it will be treated as a prepaid expenses or a prepayment, which is a current asset. And it will only be converted when the expense is actually incurred. And when it's considered to be incurred, when we consume the benefit of a particular month. Let's say that on 1st of January, we have paid the complete year rent, right? But we haven't consumed any benefit yet. So when the benefit will be consumed, it will be consumed when the first month end, and that will end on 31st January. So that means on 31st of January, we have consumed the benefit of the building or the rented premises, and only that part should be charged as an expense in that particular month, right? So that is 100,000. As we can see in this transaction, it says 31st January 2024, rent expense recorded for the month of January as 100,000. So this initial entry, we are considering it as a prepaid expenses, which is a current asset in nature. And at that stage, we have paid everything from the bank account. So 1200,000. Now, when we consume the benefit of a particular month, at that stage, we will only charge the rent expense, right? And that is 100,000 for that particular month. But since we have already paid all the expenses in advance from the bank account, now we will just reduce the prepaid expenses and convert that part to expense. Now, this is the entry that can be automated easily because this is the same entry every month. So let's see how we can do this in QuickBooks. I will open the journal entry. You can open it from company and click on make journal entries. And let's put the date of 1st of January 2024 and write prepaid expenses or prepaid rent setup. Now I will select other current assets for it because prepaid expenses is considered in this. It is also showing you the example of this. Let's continue and save and close. Let's put 1200,000 and we can just mention this as a memo and we are paying by the bank. So this is the initial entry, save and new. Now after the completion of 1 month, only that part should be consumed as an expense and consumed from the prepaid expenses. So debit will be rent expense and credit will be prepaid expenses. So on 31st of January 2024, I will write rent expense 100,000 and we can copy and paste this memo. But actually, if you want to automate this, we will only mention a journal memo here. We will not specify any month. We can write something like rent expense charged for the current month, something like this, and we will deduct it from the prepaid rent, right? Now we can memorize this or make it recurring. But for the recurring, you need to consider a date which exists in every single month. If we considered 31st January as the date of recording, it will try to record it on every 31st. But some months don't have this 31st date. So we will consider a date which exists in every single month, and that is 28th. So let's say 28th of January 2024. What we can do is either we can record it on the start of the month or on a date which exists in every single month. So after that, we will click on memorize and write here rent expenses automate. I will automate the transaction entry, select this option, and it asks how often do you want to repeat this. I want to repeat this transaction every month. Now, since I want to save this one, so the next entry will be on 28th of February 2024. And if we save this particular entry, then the remaining entries will be 11 for the complete year. If you want to enter some days in advance, like 1 or 2 days in advance, I can select this, but I want to enter it in the exact date. So I'll click OK. So guys, this is how you can enter the recurring entries. I'll click on save and close. Now this is done. And how it will recommend you to post the entries. It will recommend you the entries according to the system date. Right now we have 9th of July 2024. So if we close this and reopen this, then only it will recommend. It will not recommend all the entries in the running company. We have to start the company again. And when we start the company, it will automatically show you that the rent expenses needs to be entered for all of these months. January we have already entered, and according to the system date, July is not yet completed. So 28th February, March, April, May and June needs to be entered. And this is the amount. This is the exact same entry every single month. So if you have these kind of entries, you can easily automate this and enter all the entries. Or otherwise, if you want to enter any single or 2 entries, you can just click here and click on enter check now. If I want to enter all the entries, I will select all from here and click enter check now. So all the 5 transactions are now entered. And this is how you can automate all the entries which is similar in nature, similar in amount every single month. It can greatly reduce your workload. Just try this feature by yourself and I'll see you in the next one.